turn it off.
Well, I just think it's important to recognize again that we've
I just
gotten a
think-
lot of mileage out of our system without any taxpayer dollar.
I told her to go
I don't want
outside,
to
that somebody
people
would
jealous
tell
of
her
our
to
system.
come in, because she was like, I don't know
All
what
right.
to do, and I said, just stand up fast.
We'll go ahead and get started.
They're making desperate moves.
Call this regular scheduled session court into action. And we'll start out today's call to order with an invocation from Magistrate Tom Ellis.
Thank you, Judge. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful start of fall this morning. At the same time, we have to acknowledge that there's turmoil and strife throughout our nation and the world. Please be with our law enforcement all across the United States of America, our military, whether they're based here or across the oceans. Please know that we're praying for the dozens of deaths out west and the tremendous loss of properties in the fires that are scorching the earth. Likewise, with the news that up to 20 inches of rain could hit parts of the Gulf of Mexico in the next day or two, please be with those people. Take care that we not suffer deaths, that they listen to the advice of those who would keep them safe. And please guide us today, Lord. We have heavy issues to consider as well. We ask your blessing on the proceedings today. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
And if you'll stand and join me and put your hand on the heart for our pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next on the agenda is for us to consider approving the minutes from the last regular scheduled meeting that's in your packet.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion been made by Magistrate Sammons to approve and seconded by Magistrate Short. Discussion. There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Another record moment.
Make a motion to approve it.
Keep them rolling.
Next, we're going to approve some bills today. So, I believe that's Mr. Keegan. No?
Mariah?
Who's going to do it? Mariah's going to come in? Okay.
I assume so.
She's out there, so I'd
All right.
say she's going to do it.
Just ask whoever wants to approve.
There we go.
Morning.
Good morning, Mariah.
Okay. So the bills that are ready to be paid total out to $2,678,620.39. And the amount that's been paid for standing orders, which includes health insurance, claim payments, payroll, and utilities, is $313,863.16.
All right, motion made by Magistrate Gay. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Magistrate Sammons. Discussion on the motion to approve the bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
All right.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mariah.
Thank you, Mariah. All right, next is make budget transfers.
So we had a couple budget transfers, mainly for COVID-19 and some refunds, but a big one that we had was for the sorter conveyor belt at the recycling center. And we transferred that from the general fund reserve, so those are the three main things that I made copies of the list there for everybody, so it should be somewhere in your package.
All righty.
We discussed that belt last meeting, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It was in clipped.
Should
Okay.
be highlighted at the top, says budget adjusting the report.
Okay.
Yep. I'll make that motion.
All righty. Motion to make the budget transfers made by Magistrate Cullen and seconded by Magistrate Simmons. Discussion? Cut short? Okay. Well, I don't know why I have a hearing void in your area. You do a great job of
You
it.
just got me on your mind, Judge.
I guess that's it.
We're in the long
Keep it up, though.
location.
Just bear with me. I'll get it sooner or later. All right. By Magistrate Short, discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the motion carries. Thank you. All right, next is cash transfers.
So we only have one cash transfer. It's from the general fund to EMS for $100,000. And that's just so we can cover the bills until next quarter meeting.
Over 'em.
Make that motion.
Motion to make the cash transfers made by Magistrate Gay. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm watching you this time.
That was
Seconded by Magistrate Short.
seconded by Ronnie Sammons.
Ronnie Simmons. Discussion?
Brother from another mother.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you for that. All right, we're ready to move into the consent calendar, and we need Mr. Ben Guerrant in.
I got it.
Where's your Dorothy brand?
I forgot to hire her today.
Need a little string with a bell on it, don't you?
Oh, he came in a suit.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Now, I can take this off, correct?
Hide the purse.
Well, it's been a fun year, hasn't it?
Oh.
I hope y'all are enjoying 2020 as much as I am.
Not.
I was laying the sarcasm on a little bit there. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to come before you this morning. I kind of made a little joke about it, but in all seriousness, this year has been very different. It has posed a unique set of challenges, and in response to that, we've had to, in a lot of ways, redirect our focus. Since March 13th, we've not been able to have any on-site services, and obviously that's due to the pandemic. And serving a population that is very vulnerable, we have to be very aware of the risk that we might be putting them, the risk that we might be putting them in. So with our on-site services closed for both the senior side and adult day health care, we have shifted our focus primarily to our home delivered meal program. And frankly, that has exploded. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were serving between 55 and 60 meals a day in home delivery. When I did these numbers, I based it off 150. That was on Thursday. We're now at 156 every day, which means we are on pace to, at 150 meals a day, that puts us on pace to deliver 39,000 meals this fiscal year, which is astounding. The rules of the game have changed a little bit as far as eligibility is concerned for folks that are seeking to have meals delivered to them. Under normal circumstances, there's a process that has to be undertaken through the Bluegrass Area Development District, whereby there's an intake interview and assessment done over the telephone, and then an in-person assessment. We've been told if they're 60 and they live in your county and they need a meal, feed them. We'll figure it out. So that's what we've been doing. We've not turned anyone down. We will not turn anyone down. I anticipate us hitting 175 meals probably within the next couple of months, which would then put us on pace for 45,000.
Who helps pay for these? Is there reimbursed? Is there, what's your payment on these? Pay for the meals?
At 150 meals, the reimbursement rate is, well, it's $4.50 a meal.
Okay.
For the reimbursement rate. So assuming that we continue that pace at 150 for the fiscal year of 2020, 2021, that means our reimbursement would be $175,500. We are allotted $100,470 from the Title III federal funds. So that puts us in an immediate deficit right off the bat. Now, just in the interest of clarity and transparency, There is an additional pot of funds available through the COVID and CARES Act, and it is an additional $38,463 that we can access, which makes that total $138,933. But that still puts us at a significant deficit. So that's why it's so imperative for us to continue to receive funding from the fiscal court and from the city of Danville. And I do want to thank all of you for your consideration during the budgeting process and continuing to fund us at a fairly high level. We certainly understand the need to trim a little, and that's something that everybody in this day and time is certainly having to do.
Bill, are you delivering more meals since you don't have the in-service where they're coming to the center, or are you delivering meals to those people? We
are. So there are about, depending on the day, between 6 and 10 folks that will drive to the center and pick a meal up. But everything else is being delivered. So if they have been a recipient or a participant in our on-site Title III-B programming where they receive the Title III C1 meal, then they were immediately eligible for home delivery, and most of them are taking advantage of that.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine.
How far is your delivery circle? Is it mainly within the city of Danville, or are you getting some Perryville or Junction City that you're delivering to? Or?
Portland.
Yeah, we're if you're in Boyle County, we'll bring you a meal, period.
Okay.
So we do deliver, I mean, just because of the population density, primarily it is within the city limits.
Of course.
But we do have a route that's dedicated strictly to Perryville and Junction City, and the Fork and Parksville.
Ben, what's the proportion of volunteers with their own vehicles, their own money, their own gas, versus your staff doing the delivery?
Under normal circumstances, we have a very wonderful volunteer base. In the interest of safety and limiting personal interaction and potential infectious contact, we've suspended our volunteer service. So it's all being done completely by our staff.
That leads to my next question. Does COVID reimbursement allow a separate line item for your obvious, perhaps beyond the $175,000 you mentioned, a line item where you get reimbursement for COVID for gas and mileage?
No, that is somewhat built in that reimbursement because the reimbursement rate is $4.50 and the meal cost is $3.70. But at 80 cents a meal, it doesn't take long to to fill up a few gas tanks, and before long you're on the flip side of that. I think you had another question.
I did. So leading up, how much reimbursement or how much assistance, I should say, is coming from, say, Perryville and Junction City, or is this mainly a Boyle County, Danville?
We don't have any allocation from the city of Perryville or Junction City.
Have you reached out at all?
I plan to. We have not yet, but that's something that
I would think that if you're assisting more people in their community,
yes,
that I mean, we all pay Boyle County taxes.
Sure.
But, it's something if you're assisting their community.
Sure.
Their community, our community, whatever you want to say. I think you had that conversation with them to see.
Absolutely, and I think it just, in all reality, most of the residents in the Junction City, Perryville, Parksville, Forkland area are not within
the city limits.
A city limit at all. So the anticipation would be that would be a sticking point with those particular local governments.
Well,
but the worst they can do is tell me no.
The worst they can do is tell you no.
Right.
But this is helping everyone in our community. And
absolutely.
So Danville people are their money is being utilized to help people outside. I mean, it's all going into one pot.
Sure.
So we need to take care of those that need to be taken care of. So.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So just let me know how just shoot me a text, whatever, how that goes for you.
Okay.
I'm happy to follow up with anyone. I'm sure Tom and Ronnie as well. So.
Okay, sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I work with the Boyle County school system, deliver meals to kids. We're almost doing 1,000 a day. Mm-hmm. Tom, there's strict guidelines how you deliver this food. You just can't take volunteers and do this. I mean,
right now you can't. It's probably a little different with school-age children.
Well, we have to be, we have to be not certified, but regular drivers,
Sure.
and we deliver the meals, we gotta have gloves and protection to do that, so there's guidelines.
Oh, yes, yeah. Our
Even with you,
employees.
there's guidelines.
Oh, absolutely. Our employees
Yeah,
are wearing
I'm-
masks and gloves, and
On Perryville Road, they're literally dropping it at the end of the driveway. They've honked the horn or made a call ahead, and the person responsible for getting the food comes out and picks it up off the driveway.
Right.
I'm sure in rain, it's gonna be a little different.
No, you cannot hand the meals to the people at all.
Yeah.
You got, but they have to be able to see them or somebody there before we can drop a meal off anyway.
right, someone has to be home for us as well in
Yeah.
order to make that delivery, and that's as much a food safety issue as anything, because if we were to deliver a meal at 11:30, and let's say that individual was at a physician's appointment and they came home at 2 p.m.,
Yeah.
there's no guarantee that what's in that meal is going to be food safe at that point. So if they're not home, we have a master list. Each driver has a list with names, addresses, and telephone numbers. We will attempt to make contact by phone. If we can't get them by phone, we can contact their emergency contact. And if we can't get anybody there and we have some real concern about their safety, that we'll call either, we'll call the non-emergency dispatch number and get either DPD or the sheriff's office to do a well-done check.
Receiving the meals, I assume, know the exact time you're gonna be there.
That's why when they don't answer, it raises that alarm bell for
Yeah,
us.
if they don't answer, you don't leave the meal.
Yeah, yeah. So it's definitely a process.
I mean, I can imagine the main reason you're here is, and I can tell you that we have a commitment to the seniors in our community. And sometimes we have to tighten the belt a little bit, and with depending on where we are on budgets, but they are safe, and we will continue, as far as I'm here, to make sure that they're taken care of. So thank you for all you do.
I appreciate it.
What's happening to the adult daycare folks, so to speak, that can't come to the center and participate in person things?
So-
You have any kind of,
They're having play dates at Phil's.
like,
Some of those individuals are receiving home delivered meals. The fact that they come to our center means that they have a case manager and a plan, a complete plan of care. So the case manager is typically making sure that that individual is getting everything that they need. We do assist on with some of them in meal delivery. As far as our ability to open back up over there, it remains to be unseen. We also do have some of our younger adult day health care clients. They're not over the age of 60. Fortunately, for that group of clients that we serve specifically, they've got a great support network at home. They've got one or two parents or sibling, or they have someone at home that can assist them with absolutely everything that they need. But we're doing what we can to help in any way that we can, and make sure that we're doing it safely without putting them at risk and without putting our staff at risk. But so everybody is being taken care of to the best we can do under the circumstances that we've been delivered.
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Anybody else?
Thank you for coming, Ben.
Thank you for coming in, appreciate
Thanks for
the
having
report.
me.
Thank you.
I guess I need to put this mask on before I go out, don't I?
You should.
Who would you like me to send in? Okay.
Yep, Jailer Wofford,
Will
right
do.
behind you there.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Jody's not here?
No, he had a short call out to the jailer's office with Megan and some others, okay? He called me yesterday, and I gave him permission to come at a later date.
No, that's fine. I've gotten so many agendas here, I'm trying to figure out which one we're on.
Oh, okay.
In and out.
There was two.
All right. Jail roof.
All right, good morning.
Morning.
So I've met with Duane several times. We've looked at it, and I think what we're going to recommend to do, what Duane agrees with, instead of trying to put the Flex Seal epoxy on top to cover that, he says if we're lucky with the sun, it'll last a year and a half. So we've looked at putting tin on it. So we've contacted a company in Mercer Guerrant and Lincoln, and we're still getting bids. We were going to try to go to Lowe's and buy the metal out there and bend it ourselves, but it's only 24 inches, and it's going to have to be 26 inches because of the lips on the capstone. So, and what's holding us up is they're trying to figure out how to do the corners because there's so many bends with the 245-degree angles meeting and stuff. So, we're going to be anywhere from $2,800 to $5,000 just for the tin. Then, of course, we'll have to buy screws, maybe some bits, and then the silicone or epoxy that will seal it. So we should probably still be under $5,000. So my recommendation would be is hopefully I'll have the bids in this week, but maybe pay for that out of surplus since we don't really have it in our budget. But that's just an ideal.
Taylor, Wofford, I think it would be fine to take it out of repair and maintenance of the facility. I think there's...
Well, I had a question on that. Does the Shepherd's House, does it have its own line item for repair and maintenance?
They're 6103. You're 6101.
Okay. I want to clear up.
Completely separate
Okay.
departments under the jail's budget.
Okay. So we could do that. And then like we've had to do some maintenance up there 2 or 3 different times on the units. We had one unit go out. They went up and fixed it, and then we had a second unit go out, and they had to go back and do some repairs. It had a leak on it. We were able to get that price down $340 or $360 because they put Freon in the last time.
And leaked out.
And it leaked, and he said, well, it wasn't because, it was because this other unit, because I guess there's 4 units. There's 2 for downstairs and 2 for upstairs.
You're talking about Shepherd's House.
Shepherd's House, right.
Yeah.
And so he said, I won't charge you for putting in the Freon. So I just want to give you an update on that. So
Did they fix the leak?
yes, we think it's fixed. So
Okay.
with something like that, it could take a while. And then on the SAP agreement, I just got off the phone with Brad Boyle, the president of our association, and the association feels comfortable with the changes in the SAP contract. I have signed it. And then
This is your signed copy?
That's my signed copy.
Okay.
So, and then one other thing,
The fiscal court has to approve that agreement.
yes.
Right. You should have it in your packet. We do. Okay.
I make a motion to approve.
A motion made to approve the SAP contract made by Magistrate Ellis and seconded by Magistrate Gay. Let's discuss it if you have any discussion.
It's all the more essential in these very difficult times.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Magistrate Gay seconded.
Thanks, sir.
There being no discussion on the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. So
We need a motion on the roof. He doesn't have
That's-
I would probably let me come
Wait,
back to the
get-
next
get-
meeting.
Get the bids.
And
Would
break-
that,
turn
would
the
that
meeting-
not be an operational thing where we wouldn't even have to have
Well, it's over the threshold.
It's over the threshold of
The money, so I
3,000.
have to have your all's approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that one question, the 5,000, that's just for material, that's not labor?
No, the inmates and our
So
staff
you're
will
gonna
do
have
the
the inmates
labor.
up there, okay?
Yes.
All right.
Now, that doesn't, one thing I did say, that does not include putting a cap around the outdoor rec areas. And the reason is we'd have to buy a lift because of the screen, you can't walk. So we're gonna hold off on those, but this is gonna fix those bad spots that's crumbling, which Jamie and Tom had a chance to take a look at yesterday, so.
Okay.
And then one last thing.
Just a point
Oh.
of information on this contract. It says first party approval, second party approval. Which does the judge sign?
You would be first party on that
First
because the
party?
contract is with Boyle County Fiscal
Oh, who's
Court.
the second party?
There is none.
There is none?
No, sir.
Okay, so just, all
And
right.
then then at the bottom, so it's actually, the contract is with you all.
Brian,
Yes, sir.
if some of the inmates do some of the work, are they insured if there was an accident, if we got coverage?
Yes.
If
There's
they-
insurance there, and this is part of our WOC program. We
Okay.
can do it. They're not gonna be on the outside, they're up on the roof. We use them frequently to go up and help. We don't let, we have certain ones that we feel comfortable that know
Right.
how to do, have certain skills.
Okay.
And so we use that.
Got it.
And
That-
Brian, as we talked yesterday, mentioned the 2 areas of compensation for them.
So they are paid, of course, if they're state inmates, they're paid by the state, and then we also pay them out of canteen as well, for providing those
And then you
services.
gave
And
them-
then they also get good time credit from the state for doing those services.
Thank you.
What are we paying per hour, Brian?
It comes out to, like $5 or $10 a day is the way we do it. So they get like 63 cents from the state, I think an hour, 64, something like that, and then we give them maybe like $8, $10 a day. Depends on what they're doing. And that's all paid for out of canteen, so it's not county money, it's canteen funds.
All right. Anything else? Anybody?
And then one last thing, we're having some issues, and you may be
Yeah.
able to attest to this with our internet, due to the amount of video court meetings we're having. And I think some of the judges have been upset because it will freeze up or they can't hear some different things. So Bill did come out. We had to replace a modem and a router that's with the unit for the courts. But he's recommended, that's the handout I've given you all, to help, I guess this will help increase our bandwidth. So it will not bog our entire system down. It'll give us some more room. We'll have to put in some access points. So it could be maybe $100 more, so $324. But the good news is I could pay for that out of the tech grant that I have with we signed with GTL. So basically you all would pay the bill and then send us the invoice and we would reimburse. We'd send that into GTL and they would reimburse that amount.
We do not want to delay our judges.
Yeah. Keegan and Mary, is that
something that's
something
workable?
that we can front?
I don't see any, because we're supposed to get another $25,000, right?
Right. We still haven't used up the first.
And we've not gotten any of that money, though.
We've submitted that.
Okay.
Melissa has submitted that. We're just waiting on them.
So once we get it,
Yeah,
but
and-
if we can front the 300,
And I
whatever it is.
apologize, I haven't had a chance to really look at this. This was not, so the total amount is,
Say 350.
Say, because I think we're going to have to add a couple extra access points, and those are about $50 a piece to $100.
So
So
right around $350.
a month?
no, that's a
One time
one-time
total.
purchase.
One
Oh,
time.
a one-time purchase?
Yes.
Okay.
So what this does, it helps the strength of the signal in the building, so it doesn't cause a delay for the videos and the courts for the judges.
That'll work out.
And then we'll have that reimbursed through the GTL grant,
This is
So how
all,
much-
this is all hardware.
What's top line you think you need, 350?
probably.
Okay, so I'll
I'm
make
just-
a motion that.
I'll second.
Motion made to approve an amount up to 350 for IT enhancements for the detention center, made by Magistrate Cullen, seconded by Magistrate Kaywood. Discussion? This is reimbursable from the GTL grant, so you know, okay.
I said this is just great, you know, we're being able to broadcast from the jail and not bringing people here.
Here to
which,
the courthouse. yeah.
Exposing.
Exposure to potential COVID, and, you know, we're not having transport, so we're saving gas money too. I mean, it's just, it's a good
And from
situation.
what I'm getting from our Jailer Association meeting yesterday, this is probably going to continue for at least another year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Just on the transport, it might be a wash.
Yeah.
Maybe something that continues forever. That's
I would like it. I think it's a great way to
It's not
do
a bad,
it.
it's not a
No,
bad procedure.
because it increases our safety, you know, and it doesn't exposure. There's less contraband, you know, opportunities to bring contraband back in the jail.
Yeah.
I
I know
like
many states already do this, so, yeah, and did it prior, so.
All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you for that.
And if you have any questions on the IT, I'm sure Bill's watching. Please ask him. Because I
Bill, don't leave yet, don't leave yet. We need to talk about one thing as the treasurer, so, real quick, the treasurer, the jailer turned over $25,000 to the fiscal court, and he had, and all of this is, my concern is to make sure that it's in the minutes correctly and that everybody's doing what we're supposed to be doing, because they scrutinize those canteen funds, which are inmate funds. And so we need to make sure that the money that is spent out of that account is for the benefit of the inmate. So when you turned over that $25,000, you indicated that it was for mental health services.
But it was put into the medical bills.
So
It went in to pay for our nursing staff, our contract with Southern Health Partners.
okay, so I'm just saying that when we came before fiscal court and it was turned over, it was indicated that it was for mental health services.
But it was not applied to mental health services.
So in the minutes, that's what it says. So now that that money's in, I started thinking about it, and because the jailer has indicated that mental health services are the primary responsibility of the jail fund, that means that that money cannot be reimbursed back to the county for those services, because the statute very clearly states that the jailer's budget is responsible for the jailer's expenses, and there's certain things that the jailer is required to do, as you've mentioned over and over again about mental health services. So I had mentioned that I had mentioned to the jailer as well as to Melissa, that possibly we could apply this money to the medical side of things, because I have talked about it for more than a few years, that when we approve the medical contract, the base portion of that medical contract is required to be paid for out of the jailer's account, because that's required, just like he states that the mental health is required. And I apologize, this is a learning experience we're having with the fiscal court here, because the auditors like for it to be a planned expenditure, it's in the budget, and everybody's on the same page when canteen funds are involved. So when we turned over those funds, I had talked about, but it was never approved by the fiscal court, that the fiscal court is going to submit a request or a bill to the canteen account to be reimbursed for medical services from, there's a base amount, because we provide 24/7, that is not required, that money can be reimbursed back to the county for. So,
So that's the remedy?
that would be the remedy if you all approve for those kinds of things. I want to caution you all too that the auditors look at canteen funds they're billed to the canteen. So in the future, I would highly recommend that the process be during budget time, you decide if there's money available in the canteen to turn over, and if there is, what are we legally able to do, and how much are we going to do, and is it for the benefit of the inmate? And at that point in time, we can put it in the budget and everybody understand, and it's in the minutes, so when the auditors come to audit the canteen account, they're going to see a large expenditure, and they're going to go back to see what that expenditure was for. There was some conversation that I just submit a check request. I cannot do that to the canteen, just a check request. I have to substantiate that to not only protect the fiscal court, but also to protect the jailer, and primarily to protect the county treasurer, because she accepted the money at that time. So, with no documentation. So I'm trying to establish what we're actually approving, what we're doing here with those funds, because you can't just turn over funds.
So the funds were said to go to mental, but they actually went to medical.
If you
No,
go
we
back.
haven't done anything with them, because I have not, as treasurer of your budget,
So
authorized
what you
it.
need is, you need a motion to allow those funds to go into medical reimbursement?
The portion that is not, again, that is a benefit to the inmate over and above what the jailer is required to provide out of his budget.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I completely,
Okay,
yeah.
very good.
So if we go back, the first time I tried to present the check, you all you refused it because it was the end of the budget year, and you wanted to push it off, because I understood that. So I said, that's fine. The new budget, I'll bring it. So I bring the check, present it, you all voted to accept the money. Nobody said, take it back with you. So I left the check with you all. So then we have the Joint Jail Committee, and I was notifying them of the $25,000. And then Treasurer Conley made the comment, said, well, we can't use it for that. We're going to put it toward the medical line. So the money's already been accepted. But prior to that, when I first presented the check, she had notified Melissa that she would need to provide her with a form requesting that money so we could verify the money. So that's what the email yesterday was about, because we haven't received that. If we get audited, it's going to cause Melissa problems. We've had 2 perfect audits. I don't want to see, I would like to go for a perfect audit as long as I'm in office. So that's what I'm basically needing. So if you all need to approve that today, would you please, today, so we can move forward.
The procedure is, I think, the issue at hand. We need to make sure that there's a conversation and there's a process in because I'm all about processes. And even though the fiscal court accepted the money, again, it's the treasurer that's responsible for the legal receiving and expending of county funds.
So to get to the bottom line, if the court approves the received money, which we have in hand, to be to go toward medical expenses over and above normal jail
Cost.
responsibilities, then if the court approves that, then
we can send them a bill.
we have a minute, and then we can send them a bill.
We can send them a bill.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Magistrate Cullen, seconded by Magistrate Ellis. Is there any further discussion for clarity?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you all. Just to give you an update.
For the
Yeah,
explanation.
just again, please refrain from turning over canteen funds, because canteen funds are inmate monies. Let's talk about it, put it in the budget, have a process for submitting a bill, it's not that hard, and then the money can be turned over based on the projections for next year. Thank you.
So Jailer, my recommendation, I don't know if my fellow magistrates and General feels the same way, but if we could handle this at a committee level, when you have excess funds, have your committee kind of talk about it, and then bring the treasurer in on board and the judge on board, and then it can come before the fiscal court once. I think that's a good little.
And I agree, and that's
Yeah.
what I did. They were both aware of that.
Okay.
My goal was to do this again if possible.
Yeah.
It's hard because with COVID, spending money, I don't know how that canteen account is going to be because of this. Normally, we do pretty well. We watch it. KRS has changed. We can not only use that money for the benefit of the inmates, but we can also use it for the safety of the facility, safety and security. So there's some things we can purchase on that. And I always put those, when we do the budget, I always give, okay, here's my county budget stuff, and then here's what I can pay for out of canteen because this falls under the new state regulation. So I include that. So from now on, what I will do is I will include, if I think there's going to be money to be returned, when I do the budget, I'll have another column that says, hey, I think this is how much I may be able to give back to the fiscal court to offset some of the cost out of the budget.
I think that addresses her
But again,
procedural
when the budget time comes and he says he wants to put money in it, you all need to make sure that what you're actually getting reimbursed for is going to comply with audit standards. That's all I'm saying, and it needs to be done during budget time, because we've gotten into a habit with this fiscal court about, we put certain things in the budget and then we get into the fiscal year and then we're not doing what we decided to do with the budget. We're starting, and it's not bad to have new ideas, but you have to be cognizant that you have a budget that stands behind all of this, and we need to stay on task with what we've got in the budget first, and then you can do additional things outside of the budget. So I just would like to make those suggestions and recommendations.
So when we sit down to do our budget, I'll have an ideal. It may be, we may have a bad year, instead of $50,000, it's only $20,000. But I should have an idea of what I should be able to pay back to the fiscal court to offset the cost from our budget.
Take that canteen money and buy pizza once a month.
I have been, because we've cut down on their movement.
Yeah.
No rec because of the COVID, so I bought them we bought brownies and pizzas and different things just to kind of take the stress off of them.
Well, let fiscal court know when you're having a party and we'll be out there.
I'll do it. Thank you all.
Thank you. Send Mike Rogers in, please.
Thanks, Jailer.
Good morning.
Morning, Judge. Morning, Court. First item we have today is to consider a full-time hire of Hannah Spanier for paramedic. at $11.78, effective today.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Magistrate Cullen, second by Magistrate Kaywood to a full-time hire of Hannah Spanier at the stipulated hourly rate. Any discussion on the motion?
Committee, I'm sure.
Committee
Committee
approved that.
Committee approval.
This is an internal hire, so she was part-time, she's now going full-time.
All righty, call for the question.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, next.
The next item is to consider Felicia Hampton and Kristen. Her last name is actually Courtright. It's kind of a funny story, but on her application was a little old, and I noticed on her Facebook page it was Blake. And anyway, but for the record, and just make sure it's Courtright.
Blake's her middle name, it's still valid.
Kristen Courtright.
You met Kristen.
Yeah, she was here
this morning.
Okay.
Felicia couldn't be here today, but I'll bring her back for you guys to meet.
Go ahead.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Oh, hold on.
EMT, $12 an hour for part-time.
Both of them?
Effective today, please, yes. Both EMTs.
All right, I'll still make that motion.
Motion been made.
Who made the motion?
Jason.
He made the motion, I second.
For the part-time hires of stipulated persons at the hourly rate, and it was seconded by who? Magistrate Short.
You're gonna have to really speak up.
Speak up.
What is their start date?
John, I will pick up.
Effective
I'll
today.
make one.
Today.
My voice is echoing on the wrong side of the room.
It is.
Be quiet on that.
All right. Any further discussion?
Get him a flag.
All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. I've got
The next item is a contract to consider with Heritage Hospice. I'd just like to introduce that today, have you look over it for the next court meeting. We had we just wanted to renegotiate the contract between the two, and run it through the fiscal court so the judge can sign it. So just want to introduce it today for you to look at. I know there's, I gave it to Tina. You should have this. Yeah. There's a couple of changes I'd like to make, and then I'll bring it back to the next meeting for final approval, if that's okay.
the one was the wheelchair.
The wheelchair, yeah. And then there may be some, there's one thing about JACO that I'd like to talk to him about that I had a question on. I don't think it's a big deal, but just wanted to introduce it today, and then.
On the billing part?
Yes, sir.
Like 5C, it says provider agrees not to bill the patient Medicare and/or Medicaid for episodes related to the terminal illness and authorized by HHI.
Yeah.
So who pays that?
It's complicated. Some of it is paid through hospice. Some of it actually does get paid through Medicare. There's contractual allowances that the billing company knows more about than I do. So,
All right, I just want to make sure we're going to get paid.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, we will.
Yeah, what the committee asked was that Mike go over this and possibly go over it with you and get this all cleaned up. And once it comes back to something that better fits where he's comfortable, it'll come back to us. So if you all can work together, that'd be fantastic.
I think the last contract was signed by the previous judge. Is that correct? And
Yes,
so
sir.
It needs to be updated.
Yes, sir.
The two things I had written at the top of my paper over the weekend were Chris Herron's involvement and that reimbursement concept. I would like to say that Magistrate Gay and I have been very involved for several years with Heritage Hospice. Janelle Wheeler is an extraordinary leader, and this is an essential service if you've ever been touched by hospice for any of your family members.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah,
without
for
a
sure.
doubt.
All right, good deal. So,
The last thing is to request surplus of some office items that we have. We have an old copier that's not serviceable anymore, that's broken. It's a Savin 9228. A printer, that's an Oki C3400, and then a Brother business class fax machine that we'd like to surplus.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion made to surplus the stipulated items as presented by Director Rogers made by Magistrate Cullen and seconded by Magistrate Short. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Court.
All
Appreciate it.
right, if you would send in
Thanks,
Miss
Mike.
Shannon Greene for us.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike, would you mind to give us a list of that before you leave today?
The
Surplus
surplus
items.
items, Ann has them.
There was an email.
I emailed it to Ann.
Oh.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I know there are comp agreements that need,
Uh,
Yes.
1, 2,
Make a motion to approve all
3,
three.
Second.
4,
five.
four of them.
Oh, make a motion to approve them all four.
Still second.
All right, motion made to approve the comp time agreements made by Magistrate Salmon, seconded by Magistrate Cullen. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries. Thank you.
and I'd like to request for approval for the health fair proposal, our health fair that we usually do in October. This year it's going to look a little different. We're just going to be able to do the profile and the biometric screening and the blood work. We're not going to have the big fair with all the booths.
No flu shots?
Yes, flu shots will be there.
Move we approve the.
Sick last week, not flu shot.
Second.
All right, motion to approve the health screening contract made by Magistrate Gaines, seconded by Magistrate Salmons. Any discussion on the motion?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You'll come back
Opposed,
with
like sign.
more information?
About,
When and where?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Let us know and we'll have the sheets assigned with the times we've.
Exactly.
We did before. Okay, thank you.
Exactly. It'll be probably in the pay stubs this Friday. I'll put information in there.
Well,
We,
need to
we have one other issue that you wanted to discuss today and bring,
And
or is that the committee report, not a committee recommendation?
can I ask a question first?
Yes, please.
Instead of putting it in the pay stub, can you just give it to Ann and she email it to us?
Mhm.
So,
Or I can email it to you.
whatever
Let
works
us
for
know
you all.
next court meeting,
Okay.
the sheets assigned.
The committee was gonna do the other.
Yeah, and this is probably as good as time as any to make,
Well, it fits in.
yeah. It's a personnel-related issue, so, you're on, Brother Short.
He'll recognize you now, sir.
Well, back with EMS, the employee, his family medical leave had ended. So the committee decided to just lay him off so he could draw unemployment.
Yeah, we don't need the whole committee report until the second, don't need the whole committee report. I'm talking about the personnel action that we had yesterday that we took place.
Oh, okay, okay.
Interviews.
All right.
Interviews.
The interviews. We met with three different people for the interview for, wherever that, I did that meeting.
County administrator.
County administrator. But anyway, we come up with one name to present to the court today. Do you want me to tell them the names that we interviewed?
Just the one that the committee
Okay,
recommended.
Julie Wagner, we recommended her to take this position over, so.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
A motion made has been to offer the employment for county administrator to Julie Wagner, made by Magistrate Cullen, seconded by Magistrate Ellis. Is there discussion or comment or question?
I think it's a very good, wise decision.
We're bringing
That was
native
very
daughter
good,
back
very
home.
good, wise
You're
committee,
bringing-
sir.
You're bringing experience.
That was a very good, wise decision.
You're bringing experience to the table.
All right, is there any further discussion if,
When we should be hiring, what's the hire date?
that will be negotiated with her, will be as soon as that she was available. During the interview process, she mentioned the term of 30-day notice, but that it was flexible potentially to be shorter.
Right.
She's hoping it could be shorter, but it's, she's in an agreement made with Mercer County people she works for in Mercer County about that, so.
And I think it would be respectful to honor whatever we can for our neighbors.
So,
We would want to be honored properly too.
Correct.
If it was reversed, so.
Business people.
that will be negotiated between her and her current employer.
Excellent work, guys. Excellent work.
Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And if you allow me the honor of calling her to congratulate her on her selection, and Ms. Shannon will prepare the letters of the other applicants for that.
Perfect.
Okay?
Great.
All right. Anything else?
That's all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Back to it. Duane, please.
Duane, next.
Might be a short meeting, we'll get married and move along.
Not now.
Playing tag in the hallway.
Way to vote the Mary.
I know this guy's been busy the last 2 days.
Oh, Duane,
Yes.
push that hair back out of your face.
All right, we'll do it. I
I
can't
can
see,
talk,
I
see.
can't see it.
I can talk, Duane, see?
I can't see it. I think I only have two things on the agenda.
You mean you're sticking to those two things, or?
Well, no, but
Okay, good.
I'll start with those two. How's that? Two things to propose to you for your support and approval of. On our 80/20 bridge program, we'd like to recommend the replacement of a bridge or culvert on Arnold Road. And one of the reasons that we're doing that, of course, Magistrate Short has received several complaints, and so have I. We have a series of tiles there that were put in several years ago to replace a bridge that was once there. And they're causing some, they're deteriorating, but they're also causing some backup of water. And we have a house right there close to it that's very, very concerned about flooding and possibility of flooding of their house, so.
Where is
that's the
this
reason.
exactly? if you don't
Off
mind
Stewart's Lane.
telling? Stewart's Lane?
You know, if you're coming from the bypass to go by the gas station, the first real sharp curve to the right that you come to, there's a road that goes straight.
Yeah.
That's Arnold Road.
That's where they, tankers go in there and
They refuel the trains
refuel
through
the
there.
trains right there.
We work with the railroad some on that too. Matter of fact, they have resurfaced that road for us because they use it too with their tankers.
Can we get them to resurface my Buster Pike Bridge, or what?
No, because they don't want the bridge rebuilt.
They don't want it rebuilt.
Well,
Okay,
that's not what they agreed to before.
So we need to go around them. No, we gotta keep working with them. We really do. And
All right.
that was one of the things I just found out about too. I just got the
Make a
phone.
motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion made to approve the bridge, the 80/20 bridge project, made by Magic Salmon, seconded by Magic Cullen. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next
All
one.
right. The other thing is we have been asked to submit a discretionary fund request, and so we're recommending that we submit the Allen Springs Cross Pike for resurfacing. That's probably our most heavily traveled road of our county with the highest traffic count. And it's showing a lot of wear and tear and a lot of potholes that keep coming back after we patch them. So we recommend that we resurface that road.
Is that the one that we discussed about the widening for the distillery?
Yes.
Yes.
Would we want to do that prior to the widening, or how's that going to work?
That project is on hold.
The widening is on hold.
Yes.
Yeah, imagine that.
When will this be done, Duane? Will it be done this fall?
We don't know yet.
It's when we get the discretionary funds from the state. I don't know.
Yeah.
Next year.
And we don't know. We don't know if it'll get approved for
There
this fall or
are,
this
there are
next
some
spring.
discretionary funds flowing to the counties. I will say that.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that you, or is that your district?
Yes,
So entertain a motion on the recommendation. Made by Magistrate Sammons and seconded by Magistrate Gay. All right, thank you for that. Any discussion on the recommendation for Allen Springs Cross Pike to be submitted for discretionary funds?
Nope.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
That is a good road to take me out to Bud and Churros to get some ice cream.
That's right. A couple of quick updates. We were told that our flex fund agreement hopefully will appear this week or come to us this week. We hope that comes true. I know we've had some questions about the resurfacing of those projects on that list. We have two different resurfacing lists, if you remember. One was with LGEA funds, which those projects have been completed, and those funds were already in our bank,
Right.
in our hands.
The flex funds, we have to wait for those agreements to come back.
We have not received them yet.
Judge has to sign it, send it back to them, and then they have to sign it and send it back to us. Then we can let the work go, so, release the work, so.
Projected
that-
dates.
So hopefully I have no idea, but except that hopefully we're gonna have the agreement in our hands this week.
This week,
Yes.
hopefully this week.
Before the snow flies, we hope.
We ain't have any problems with all the rain we've had. I had my gauge about 4.5 inches.
We had some damage to 2 or 3 roads, and we're working on those this week, getting those repaired. Die Hollow, we had some issues there, and we've had some issues on Roselle. A couple other places were just minor, but those were the 2 where we had some significant washing away of fill around a couple of tiles and box culverts. So nothing major, thank goodness, but we've had 2 or 3 issues. But had a lot of water down that way Sunday.
5 inches.
So
I have a question for you, Duane. This might have to go to the city, but the city out on Goggin
Down Phillips Lane.
repaired a water line out by,
I'm sure they.
right, not too far from my development.
okay.
And now I'm noticing it looks like a water leak. There's always a spot on the side of Goggin Road.
A wet spot.
A wet spot there. It's there every day.
Close to Riverview or some?
Yes.
General
So if you come
general
out
area?
and you make a right, it's probably maybe 100 feet up on the right-hand side.
I'll go out there and look at it.
Hamlin's was the one that they repaired.
Okay.
But they messed up my brand-new road.
Oh, no.
Doing that.
They did?
Oh, yeah, they put some nice nasty marks in it with, when they were digging out.
With the
whatever,
backhoe.
With the backhoes, but yeah, I don't know, I was gonna talk to Earl, but I don't know if you wanna take a look at
We
that.
can,
and see
I'll
what
look,
it
but
is.
we just need to pass it on and get on their list, but a
Yeah.
lot of those little minor repairs, it takes them a while to get back to sometimes.
Yeah, they were good to take care of one over off of, out my way, they
Yeah.
took care of another one that was like that, so,
Okay.
okay.
The only other thing I was gonna update on I was just on the phone with the gentleman who manages the Bridging Kentucky project and program. And this year's budget, there are none of our bridges are in that budget. We have 3 bridges that are in that plan. The Buster Pike Railroad Bridge, Tarlig, and Medlock.
Not the Blue Bridge in my zone?
Huh?
Not the
Blue Bridge,
in my
no.
zone?
And so, but none of those bridges are in this year's budget. We're not real sure. He thought they only passed a 1-year budget because they had had an abbreviated session back in the spring. And so maybe that when they're coming back this coming spring.
This is a budget year, so
Yeah.
it should be a 2-year budget.
It should be.
Should be behind biennial.
Yeah. He thought it was a 1-year, but if it's a 2-year, neither one of our projects are even budgeted in this present biennium. We probably need to do some groundwork, and I'll talk
Okay.
about that.
All right, we'll get together and do that.
And see if we can't get at least one of them elevated.
Judge, will you
into
get your court
next
over
budget.
here? That side over there is.
So anyway, just to bring you up to speed on that, because I just got off the phone with him about that.
All right.
but
Appreciate
that's all I
it.
have.
Appreciate it, Duane. Thanks,
Thank you,
Duane.
Duane. Good seeing you.
Tell your guys we said thank you for all their hard work.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Need Angie next.
Angie.
We appreciate you all holding it down over there. So,
Morning. How's
Morning.
everybody?
Yeah, how are you?
Good. Let's see, put that thing down. Litter abatement, that's just the grant that we get, from January to December to pick up litter. Of course, I don't know the amount just yet. Usually stays the same around 30,000 unless, the city changes their mind. It'll be a little bit less, but we'll have to wait and see. Any questions?
Need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Approve the county's request for an agreement for litter abatement program grant funding.
And I still need a thing, Mary, for what you had sent them originally, back at budget time. The city. For my cost, the total that you sent the bill to the city for.
Oh, okay,
I need a copy of that, please.
okay.
Just when you get a chance, email that to me. That's what I was trying to get through the other day, but we were all so busy.
Yeah, I was under the impression it was a completely different email, and I apologize.
That's fine.
It's my bill is what you're looking for.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And you need it for this year? The one that
Yes.
we gave them as,
Yep.
okay.
That's the one I need. And I got Shannon.
Wait, let's go.
Okay.
We got a motion to approve the
Sorry.
grant funding made by Magistrate Sammons, I believe, and seconded by Magistrate Cullen. And, is there any discussion on the grant funding request? All right, for litter abatement, there being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
I have
Thank
to
you.
learn I'm the empress, okay?
I know, but you've stepped
Tell,
out of
ask
your,
Ann.
You
Ask
stepped out of
Ann.
your castle, so.
No, I didn't. This is my castle too.
Just because you brought backup doesn't mean.
I brought backup. There you go. All right, the next thing is, we have job classification. I have an employee who, I need to move up a level, I need to move up a grade. He is, actually doing his job, and he's also doing Lance's job when he's out doing, the dead animal removal. So I want to move him up a level. Is that how we do it? Is it a grade, or how would you say that? A step. Okay, I want to move him up a step. That's why I have her for. That's what she does.
Backup.
Backup.
And also, the committee approved this.
Based on a wonderful
Yeah.
personnel committee.
Yeah.
Brilliant personnel committee. We decided
Half.
on it.
I got a great committee.
What's the dead animal removal thing?
We have, hey, let's come up with a different name for that. We need to come up with a different name for.
Conservation. It's Boyle Conservation Service.
Oh, I think Mary's the one that renamed it Soil Conservation
Yeah.
Service. DAR.
But it's better than, well.
It is what it is.
Can we just call it code name prime rib?
Ribeye.
Yeah,
I mean,
whatever.
it's whatever.
Move right along.
All right.
Roast
All
rock.
those
It's
in
costing me about
favor,
$1 rib.
all those in favor of the committee recommendation, we have a motion approved and seconded for the, I'm drawing a blank, the reclassification step increase. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Yeah, who made the motion? I don't, did anyone make the motion?
I made a motion.
Did you all name the employee?
Yes. No?
No.
They know the
All right.
employee.
Well, it needs to be named because the county treasurer cannot sign the payroll check unless it's in the minutes that
Yeah,
it's
all right,
been adjusted.
let's go back.
Okay,
I want
it's
you to
Earl
state the
Reed.
name, and you state the motion, and
Okay.
we'll have a second.
And the amount.
It would
And
be
the amount.
Raymond Earl Reed.
Reed, yes.
Raymond Earl
And the
Reed.
amount,
She's going to 1250.
he's going to $12.50.
$12.50
I make
an
the
hour.
motion that we increase Earl Reed's salary to $12.50.
Raymond Earl.
Raymond Earl Reed.
Raymond
Well, I got Earl
Motion
Reed.
made by Magistrate Short and seconded by Magistrate Gay. Now, we have it where it needs to be.
Effective.
Effective, beginning of the next pay period?
I say that, yeah,
That'll work.
yeah.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Everybody
You got
understand the motion? Beginning of the next pay period.
Don't worry, I'll help you out over there.
You gonna do Geneva?
Guarantee will.
Say something about Geneva.
Yes, that's next.
Okay.
All right.
Next.
Wait, whoa.
Oh, are we still? Oh my
We need to go
goodness.
back through the ayes.
So you are going to have to come on. Let's go.
Any discussion on that motion?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion carries for,
You think we had done it before?
I'm telling you, I don't think we've ever done this before, have we?
the next.
The next is my recycling manager is retiring the end of November. I have found a replacement, and she has, we hired her as a floater. And since then I have, she's working a little bit inside, but I would like to bring her full-time October 1, so she can work with Ralph until he leaves. She will be making the same salary she is now until he leaves, but she will be full-time and she'll be eligible for insurance. Is that correct? Okay.
Starting October 1 is your
Starting
request.
October 1 is my request.
Well,
Yeah, name.
What's her
Be
name?
Geneva Hogue.
Geneva Hogue.
And the
committee
committee,
has met her and we approve, she's another one of these, highly qualified applicants. We're lucky to get her.
Yes.
She's a superstar.
Very, very lucky.
well, the
Yes.
personnel committee approved her to, for this full-time
That's
job,
why we
okay?
approved her. She's a very good.
You guys are active.
You guys are knocking it out of the park today. I'll tell
So
you.
did you all approve October 1st, the pay increase, and what that pay increase would be?
We're not pay increasing her.
No.
Not until Ralph leaves.
My point is that, will that come back before the fiscal court, or are they approving that today?
Well,
I would say it'd make
go
more
ahead,
sense to
couldn't we,
approve her
or-
today.
Whatever, you desire.
Well, it's either now or
It
later.
It needs to have the record,
Again.
be
It
in the
makes
record
sense to
what
do
that
it now.
amount would be.
Okay.
For effective
December 1st.
December
Okay,
1st.
December 1st, and it would be, that's Shannon's job.
Oh.
12:50.
I can't, but I think it's 14.
Oh, 14.
Maybe you can come back and make that report, yeah.
I'll just come back on that.
Yeah.
All right, what we'll
I'll just
approve
come back in
today
October and,
Is
Trying to
the
avoid
projected October 1 hire at the same salary in a full-time capacity
until he leaves.
until he leaves.
Of course,
and
with
then-
benefits, because she's full-time, so.
Right, right. She's going from part-time to full-time.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Magistrate Short and seconded by Magistrate Salmon. Is there anybody needs a point of clarity or discussion?
Mm.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Do we have anything else? I think
That's
that's it. Okay.
Thank
Make,
you.
we're
We're
making
good.
Mary very nervous today.
Thank you, Angie.
All right,
Thank you.
You're
now,
welcome. Thank you.
Mary, we got 10 minutes.
Mary, are we sending Mary?
Your turn.
I'm sorry, we were talking. So there's a grant agreement. Anybody have any questions about that? That's your Steedman grant.
Nope.
Nope.
No.
So we need to approve the grant agreement so the judge can sign the agreement.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Magistrate Short, seconded by heard first Magistrate Cullen, to approve the Steedman grant with the Department of Interior Park, National Park Service. Any discussion?
Just one more good draw for folks coming in from out of state.
It is. All those in favor
Even
signify by
in-state.
saying aye.
Aye. In-state.
Aye.
All right, Mary.
Okay. That's been approved.
Moving right along.
All right, you all want to approve Mr. Gay for?
No.
No.
No, pass.
Take a vote, put it off.
I'll make a motion to approve that. No, I won't.
Can we go
It's
into,
best that he not make that motion.
can we go into executive session?
Can we clarify that it's in the budget?
That amount is $2,156.30.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, I thought that
Motion
had the
made
motion
by Magistrate Cullen and seconded by Magistrate Salmons. We'll go with that. Discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Congratulations. All righty then.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Next.
All right, I've gotten July and August financial statements up to date and closed those for everybody, so I got those circulated around. And if y'all have any questions, feel free to come by.
Make a vote. We don't need a motion on that, do we?
No.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Gatsby 54.
Let's talk about GASB 54. I would like for everybody to put that in front of your eyes so you can follow along with me, because these next two documents are important for you and the health of your county.
What does it look like?
It says Boyle County Fiscal Court GASB 54 statement. And this is for your 2019-2020 fiscal year. So one of the things that, I always caution you about is when we talk about carryovers from one fiscal year to the next, we have to be realistic about what truly carryover is. And so as you can see at the top there, we have a list of funds.
It's right here. It's a one single sheet.
Yeah, everybody has it. Here, Miss Ann. That doesn't mean here. Got it?
Okay.
Or, no.
I can't find it anyway, I'm sure it's in there somewhere. All right, go ahead.
So basically, here, do you want one?
I've got it in here somewhere.
So,
6 inches, 6 feet apart.
across the top, you can see we have general fund, road, joint jail, EMS, E911, and then we have an internal service fund, which is your health insurance fund, and then your non-major funds, which basically are your grant funds. But the auditors, and you need to understand that there are funds included in your carryover that are considered restricted money, committed money, and assigned money. And that's done by either by ordinance, all the way down to by order by the fiscal court of earmarking funds for certain uses. So that's your listings down to the left-hand side. So under the general fund, those numbers, moving your finger down the list, you can see that I have listed items like the litter abatement grant of $22,000 and the spay and neuter grant of $2,500. So at the end of the year, you received those funds but had not spent all of those monies, or you have not spent any of those monies. And then in the middle, you have committed, which includes your encumbrances. Those were bills that were committed to pay, but checks were not written for. So you have encumbrances. That's your modified cash basis of accounting. And then you have projects that you've actually earmarked money for, $1 million for capital and debt reduction. We have left in your catastrophic fund $150,260 because we spent some of that money. So that's how much of that $200,000 we carried over this year. And then there's some recreation and culture money. We still have $50,000 earmarked, which we're probably going to have to use when you start constructing that 2168 trail, because I don't think there'll be enough money in that grant account to write those checks until you get reimbursed, and then all of those monies will be reimbursed back to the general fund. So that whole total of restricted, committed, or assigned funds total $1,395,440. And you carried over $4,433,000. So really, uncommitted funds, you're at $3 million. Any questions about any of that? Same thing with the road fund. You all had $20,980 committed. And those were basically your encumbrances. And then 195 is your actual carryover. Joint jail. Your actual unencumbered carryover is $34,800. That's after taking out, we put $194,400 in there for construction and renovation, as well as we have a capital projects, which is a savings account that we only use when necessary. So that's a restricted account, or it's a committed account, I should say. It's not restricted by ordinance. And then lastly, you have EMS, and that's primarily a grant that was carried over that was supposed to be for a new ambulance. And I know that your EMS director, I don't know if he talked about it in your committee meeting, but the application was made for prior year and this year for a new ambulance, and since there wasn't a new ambulance, he was going to work with the granting agency to redirect those funds possibly to another project. I don't know if he spoke to you all about that, but that needs to be done.
I don't believe he did.
No, that was not brought up.
Well, that needs to be, otherwise that $10,000 from last year is going to have to go back. So we need to clarify that. And there's your E911. That's all restricted money by ordinance. Yep. So, does anybody have any questions about that document? To me, it's one of your more important year-end documents. And then you don't have to approve these, but I am submitting them just because it's information and
Be in the minutes in the record.
And it's in the record, yeah. And it's good information for you all. And the next one is your what we call the general fund reserve analysis, which is another real important piece of finance. And again, this is a year-end calculation that we do every year. and this is important for your bond issues, as well as the GASB 54 statement is important. Those statements are submitted to your auditor at the end of the year. At one time, GASB 54 was required. Now it's not so much since they changed some of the methodology with the Office of Budget and Management, which is a federal agency, you know, but they don't specifically require that, which is unfortunate because I think it's an important document. But the other one that I think is real important that we do, I went through training, and it was how to calculate your contingency. And first and foremost, one of the most important aspects of calculating what your carryover should be is you should absolutely have enough money to pay for your first quarter's bills. And that includes a full year of debt service. That's the rule. That's not something I made up. So we also have, just in case there's extreme events or economic uncertainty, it looks like you have a total of $768,000 required for the first quarter. Any questions about that? So you've got to have $800,000 in the bank for the next year. Now, Standard & Poor, they have a calculation that they sit behind their desk and they work up for those of us who are looking for financing. If you're going to do a debt, issue bonds, one of the first things they look at, and what they look at is what was your past year's operating revenues. Well, our past year's operating revenues for the general fund only, because truthfully that's the only fund that has funds in it that are flexible. Jail, road, and EMS are not so much, so they're more committed funds. So your 1920 operating revenues were $9,382,000. So S&P does a percentage of those to determine whether or not you have a decent carryover. And so you can see there that good is 4 to 8%, strong is 8 to 15%, and very strong is over 15%. So they looked that we need to have I like to say over 15%, $1,400,000 needs to be what your carryover is at the end of the year into the next fiscal year. So your carryover is $4,433,000, because that's what your bonding authority is going to look at, is not the unencumbered. They're going to look at the big money, less your actual first quarter's expenses. So you're talking about $3,665,000, or you go back to your GASB at $3,037,000. Just some information.
Thank you.
Good information.
Thank you.
Information.
And now, did that cover, so that covered our reserve analysis also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've got in your packet the Boyle County Conservation District minutes and financials.
Too much. They're doing pretty good.
Yeah, they need to get in the habit of submitting those on a regular basis, and unfortunately, we don't get those in a timely fashion, and I've always insisted that those need to come after each one of their meetings, just to inform you first and foremost that they're meeting and talking about how to spend, I think it was $87,000 in taxpayers' money. I mean, that's what your responsibility is to make sure that they're meeting and that they're watching their finances.
All right. I believe we're ready to go into new business, and we'll just go around the room, starting with Magistrate Ellis.
I stopped by, excuse me, this morning and saw Chili Bottom, because I'm starting to get calls about the confusion that people have about mail-in ballots, how to request them, everything else. Excuse me. Two important things that she clarified. Just as any of us who voted in the primary across the hall, come October 13, if you want to tell your constituents that they can come and vote in person, they can do that beginning on October 15 in the clerk's office. And then the other issue that she told me that I was not aware of, but I'd had questions on, she has filed with the state to have 4 voting sites this time. Ideally, There will be 2 in Danville, 1 in Perryville, and 1 in Junction. And I think that's critical because I think a lot of people still feel the need to go, as I will, and vote at a location or perhaps come here to the clerk's office.
By the way, speaking of clerk's office, we discussed yesterday, we're going to try and work it out with Duane and everybody to have the in-courthouse voting booths for early voting at the end of the hallway out there, so she's not encumbered and loses
Good.
space on the counter in the clerk's office.
Yeah, because it was somewhat confusion. There was confusion when I came in because people were there for every other service except voting. I had not known for sure, but I checked yesterday in our committee meeting with Brian that they will do litter abatement if asked, the inmate crew with Fred Edwards. And we've got a problem up on Mitchellsburg Knob right now, and that crew's going to be in the rotation. There's some other priorities they're going to come in.
So the state's allowing them out, is that what my
That's
hearing?
my understanding, yeah. Yeah. Census, I will defer to my co-chair. What's the news and what's the end date?
Yeah, the end date is, I'll have to research it again for sure, but I believe the end date on the actual counting is the end of this month.
That's what I was hearing too.
But I'll confirm that and I can get back with everybody. But yeah,
That's
they're-
correct.
Yeah,
Do you know the percentages of where we stand as a county or anything?
I did not, we were pretty much at the, pretty solidly 70% of the, online and phone in. So that's an increase from where we were 10 years ago, so that's good. And I
That's
know
what you
they
gave
have
us
been-
last month.
They have been going door to door and, working on the collection rate. Yeah, so I think it's gone about as well as you can expect under the circumstances.
Of COVID.
Our count, right?
I know Angie's been doing the census.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this is worth public record because we're all concerned about the census and what it impacts. We had 7 congressmen back in the 70s. Now we have 6. We could have 5 or we could have 8, depending upon how this goes. I ran into an inquiry that was awkward. One of the pollsters or people going out and checking the census has had a circumstance where people won't respond. And the original questions were, how old are you and what's your full name? And there was a refusal. And I think you might know where I'm going on this in my district, and it could be in other districts as well. Apparently there's some leniency built into the system just to get a valid count. And we may need to talk with the folks, the powers that be, because I think there are going to be some uncounted in my district. I gave an alternative opportunity, and I don't know whether that's been tried by the gentleman who stopped by and talked to me, but it could be a serious issue with farm workers. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, the real obviously we're down to the hard to count part of the census, and that's always the challenge in the process. And it is important to continue to be reminded that it is a count of everybody that, currently lives in our county, in our case, but in the United States. And one of the areas of confusion oftentimes for people is they feel like if they're a tenant, if they're renting, that's another hard to count group. They think that it's the landlord's responsibility to fill out the census material, and that is not the case. So it's important for all residents of the county to acknowledge and participate with the census workers as they're going door to door right now.
Funds our
They
schools.
should have their
funds-
badge, and they should clearly be able to identify themselves as a census worker.
That's it.
All right, thank you. We'll skip over and allow, I don't think he has anything, but we'll allow him.
He has none. I don't either.
You don't either, okay.
I got
Counselor?
something real quick. I've been speaking with council for Pittman Creek, and they need a letter kind of approval from the court. I mean, it's required for their movement from Boyle County to Lincoln County. So I prepared a letter. They kind of gave me, I've never done one of these before, so the counsel for Pittman was able to give me kind of a template to kind of go by, and I've modified it for
Okay, you're aware of the discussion on that issue?
I mean, I know that you might be seeking reimbursement for some incentives or whatever.
I'll sign it as soon as we receive that, because that's the taxpayers' money that we have paid to incentives, and they didn't fulfill the obligation of the agreement.
All right, well, do we know, have we made a demand to them for the amount of money that we're seeking reimbursement for?
Only by proxy, I believe. I don't think we have sent a communication, but I know for a fact that Jody Laster has told them that what we're looking for, it's approximately $36,000.
I mean, if we're seeking that back from them, I mean, that's understandable. I mean, I think that we need to put it in writing in our.
I'll work with you today, draft a letter, and we'll send it to them and be done. I'll sign the economic development letter just as soon as we get that, because I just think, would you all agree?
Marcus, yes.
Yeah, completely.
Judge, I'm not sure that maybe everybody knows what's going
Okay,
on.
Pittman Creek is going to be leaving Boyle County. They're moving to Lincoln. They're moving to Lincoln because Lincoln offered them the space that they could not find here for expansion, which is a little bit hard to understand sometimes if you look into it deeply. Okay, I'll put it that way. But nonetheless, it's already a done deal, and it was a done deal kind of before anybody here knew about it. I'll just put it that way.
Lincoln building them a building, or they're going to have to build their own building?
They're going to build their own building, but they're given the land to do it, to expand.
Magistrate Cullen, we had not yet convened when you shed some light on that. Could you go into some of those details with you about the move and the involvement of, as the judge said, any of us, or lack thereof?
I mean, unfortunately, I have not received any information. I don't know, since the general sits on the board of EDP, if you received any information. I know our counterparts on the city, seems like they didn't receive any information or ability to help correct the situation before it got as far as it did with Lincoln County.
Where we'd lose them.
Where we'd lose them, which is kind of similar to things that have happened in the past. And so
there was an opportunity to present options to them, and that was presented, but it was not received by Pittman Creek as being adequate.
Right, I think that's the key point, is that we did give them options, but they made a business decision.
But who was we, and when did that take place?
who
And
gave the option?
7 of us didn't know about it.
The judge.
No, I didn't know about the options. I got that after the fact when the EDP director, Jody Laster, talked to the treasurer and myself and said that he was somewhat blindsided by the attempt. I'm not going to use the term that this company county hops, but maybe I did say that. But anyway, it was kind of a missed opportunity because they apparently were looking before that anybody in the county knew about it. And there was a response of offer of stuff to stay here, but it was met by the business decision not to stay here.
Right. That's where I think that's the key point.
But we didn't know. We didn't know that as a.
We're a force for our constituents.
I know, but it's a business decision by coming. Those business decisions happen all the time, to come and to go. And so
Well,
I
they're
think-
hopping around. We got them from Lincoln County, so I guess they're going back. But
Correct.
I don't think it's his handle properly. I think that they should at least give us a better opportunity and come to the court and to give us a
Again,
chance to work out
the
something
business
for them.
decided to move their business back to Lincoln County, so that's their.
It's communication on the front end of an issue.
Now, the corporation has some responsibility in this, guys. You know, if we can't read their mind on what they're doing and what they've already done before. Anyway, John, you had your hand up.
Well, I just, I think that the communication probably wasn't what I would have hoped that it would have. Or the opportunities to put together options may not have been what I would have liked to have seen. And this is just a personal opinion from what little bit I know. But I think it takes all of that communications to give everybody an opportunity to reach a conclusion. It may, yes, it's a business decision, but if we don't have the opportunity to put in potential opportunities, then not all the businesses know of what could be done. And I think that's where the breakdown was and what little bit I know about this.
Yeah, agreed. And a couple points that I'm aware of, Lincoln County was able to give them land. They were also able to use some incentives through the ARC money that they have. And I think the most important thing, and this was raised before, they have a lower payroll tax than we do.
There you go.
And you know, I know that the city side has a large,
Because they are in the city.
yeah, well, and that's the interesting part, is that they were annexed into the city not too long ago, so that leads me to believe that that annex probably took them out of town.
That probably
was the icing on the cake.
Significant impact.
I mean, they probably already had their line cast for, you know, a little fun there, but, payroll
Are we
tax.
talking about Danville annexing them?
Danville annexed them, yeah.
Yeah, but Danville annexed them prior to this whole incentive in 2016. I know that because I do the incentive and we've been doing this.
No, I know that.
Okay,
No.
so that they annexed them.
I thought they just annexed them because.
No, I've been sending Michelle reports since, they started the process in 2015 and in 2016 and 2017 is when we started giving them money back. Not only did the county give them money back, but the city gave them money back as well.
Just
to clarify,
I was
yeah.
in one of the commission meetings and they
Just
talked
to
about
clarify.
annexing that whole area right there.
I'm just telling you that
Okay.
they were getting reimbursed, back in 2016.
Well, I know that, but I'm, okay. So yes, so payroll's gonna be an important thing, and, I have my issues with EDP, but, you know, when we raise payroll taxes, we make their job even harder, especially when we've got surrounding counties that have lower payroll, taxes. So we have to be very careful, and I will say, if we do not hit the 30,000 threshold this year for the census, we really need to consider pulling that back. So
One thing about it too.
to make
we
ourselves
gotta remember
marketable.
That the owner and all of his family live in Lincoln County. They
Agreed.
put a lot of pressure and they love Lincoln County
Yeah.
and he's got a chance to go back and that's where he's going.
And honestly, this could have been a play for them to get a good deal from Lincoln County. We're gonna leave for a little bit, and then, you know, we'll come back. I mean,
Well, they
Jamie
got-
said
they
it's a
got
business
free land
decision, and that happens.
Free land and the occupational tax is lower and a lot of things, so let them go.
All right, so my point is, and the court agrees, that once we are reimbursed those incentives since 2016, that once we get those back, we will draft a letter from the judge's office with the exact amount to the corporation, to Pittman Creek. So there is no ambiguity in understanding of what is being requested. Anything else, Counselor?
I don't know.
Anything else?
And maybe it was kind of talked about briefly regarding the Wilderness Trail Distillery.
No.
Oh, I thought they.
No, it's
somebody
not been
talked a
out.
little bit about it. Well,
We talked about the road.
yeah, well,
Okay.
this is kind of involving that. I think they were gonna widen the road, and they were gonna give us a right of way for a particular piece of land. So I prepared all had the coordinates or whatever of the description of the land that was to be given to us, and I prepared it and I sent it to Shane, Shane Baker. And, I just wanted to read what I got back. Email was sent back on September the 4th. He just said, "I'm sorry, I thought this was the trailhead. This is for the Alum Springs widening project. Right now, we're on hold on this project. We're evaluating another access point to our property and building our own roads on our properties simply because the utility company quotes to move the gas and AT&T portion makes this a non-viable project for us. It would have been a major improvement to the county to widen that intersection. However, the total cost is over $160,000. Unless the city and county are willing to abate me some taxes to recover a portion of this over the years, we simply cannot afford to do it. Maybe an IRB or a future warehouse that could be established to offset the cost and allow us to recover paying for county road improvement, ? Regards, Shane." I don't know what IRB stands for.
Investment
County
reimbursement.
I think I think it's an incentive. I know unless it's a revenue bond.
So I just wanted to make the court aware
I
of.
don't think county will spend no $150,000 on the road. Moving right along.
All right.
Yeah, we thought all this was settled.
Appreciate the information. Okay, next, Jason.
Yes. All right, so, I have a couple things. Brass band, any update on brass band? Have they communicated with us about their?
Industrial revenue bond.
That's
Oh, yeah,
what
yeah,
it is.
yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, brass band, have they communicated back with us about returning their 10,000?
I've not heard anything from
Okay.
them at all.
All right, so we'll give them a call. Court date adjustments. What's the reasoning for changing? It seems like every time that we're off on a Monday, we're not meeting on a Tuesday. Is there a reason behind that, or we're adjusting court dates for that? Like, so we were supposed to meet on the 8th, but we didn't meet.
Give you a chance to get home if you've been on
You know,
vacation.
if you've used the time to do some vacationing, because you get a free day there for the
Okay.
employees or anybody else.
Can we talk about that going forward? You know, if we're going to do that instead of just unilaterally changing it, or is that just basically your
Sure,
judgment?
yeah, I don't have any problem with that, but.
I usually plan my schedule out about a month and a half, and so I'd kind of had the 15th and 29th, so as for other things, and I move stuff around, but I think right now nobody's traveling that much. I mean, actually I did, but I was back in time. So if possible, that would be wonderful. And then at the commission meeting last night, they also talked about our reduction in the contribution to to Parks and Rec.
To the pool, I think.
To the pool, yes. And so, per the agreement that we signed, it states that if the Bunny Davis Pool Center ceases operation, the county's annual payment shall be reduced by $19,000, which is what we did. It seems that some of the commissioners think we need their approval to do that, but we have it here.
Whose approval?
The commission's, the city's approval
All
to
right.
make adjustments that we'd already priorly agreed to. So one thing that was brought up, that I'm sure John heard as well, was that, that 19,000 is from July to June. So we may want to consider, when it gets closer to next year, actually contributing part of that 19,000 if the pool reopens next year. That would be my thought on that, because the 19,000 covers essentially 2 summers or a summer and a half or whatever. So I stand behind the fact that we didn't pay them this time because it was not in operation. it was brought up that the city has, this $1 million budget for Parks and Rec, and my answer to that is that you wanted to run Parks and Rec, that's part of the deal. You're going to encumber those extra costs of what you want to do. One of the commissioners, at one point told me just to write a check and basically shut up. Previously, is what she said. Oh, I'm sorry. But if you want to run Parks and Rec, then this is part of the deal. You're going to have extra expenses. But one thing that we do need to do is we also reduced their payment by taking $44,000 out of for the Bunny Davis Center, which at the time was an appropriate move because it was closed as well, but it's since reopened. So we probably should allow the treasurer or make instructions to the treasurer.
So you would like, the fiscal court would like to reinstitute, now do you want us to go, because we're paying quarterly payments.
Quarterly
and
payments.
that $44,000 is divided equally.
Yep.
So we did not make that payment, nor the Bunny Davis pool payment in the first quarter.
Mhm.
Is the fiscal court asking us to reinstate that $11,000 for?
Well, that's what I'm asking my fellow
Yeah,
magistrates,
okay.
their thoughts on this. The Bunny Davis Rec Center is open and is operating, and then per our same agreement, we did say that only if it ceases operations would we not pay that, but it's open. So I think per the agreement, if we're able to not pay them for something when it's closed, we should pay them for something when it's open.
I guess I would like to know to what extent has it been open and what kind of,
Well, it was closed for COVID. When gyms were able to start opening back up, they did open up. Now, the prior parks director was still allowing some things to happen out in the open air. I know they were having like some outdoor exercise classes on the tennis courts and various things here or there. But I don't feel right saying we're not going to pay you for the pools since it wasn't opened, but we are not going to pay you for the other when it is open.
It's open to the public, not just for offices.
Correct. Yep, everything down there is open.
What period of time was it closed for COVID?
How long has it been open?
I think it's probably been closed, gyms started opening back, it was probably closed for about 2 months.
Well, then pro rata, I could go with that.
I mean, we could look into that. So,
Well, if you say 2 months from March or April.
yeah, that's the other point too. This all happened, it was opened up prior to July 1, which is when this contract this agreement has been validated.
Okay.
So technically, we should pay them the full $11,000, not prorated because.
Good clarification.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mary, because it was opened prior to July 1. Right? You're going to start going back to gyms July 1, yeah.
So you would like us, we're considering, reimbursing them for last quarter's $11,000 as well as reinstating the $11,000 going forward quarterly.
Correct.
I'd make that a motion.
And we could probably talk with the city. We might want to just make that payment all at once. No, on payment, I think in October is
That's
when
what
the
I
next
think
one
we'll
due.
do, yeah.
That's probably,
that's
if they'll talk with staff. So,
Yeah, if they'll talk to staff.
yeah, no, so.
There's a motion been made by Magistrate Ellis and seconded by Magistrate Gay to allow for the reimbursement and the payments in October to be caught up, but not the pool.
We'll do the pool, I guess, next year.
Next year.
When it gets a little closer to see where things are. And I think it's
Well, let's look before you go on.
Okay.
We need to vote
All right, Roger.
on the motion. Does this affect the motion?
No.
What you're about to talk about?
Nope.
All right. All those in favor of the motion as discussed, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign? Motion carries.
Could I just borrow a second, if I may have?
Sure, of course, sir.
Jason, did you get the feeling that they really questioned whether the pool would even open next year?
That was something that was.
I can't imagine it opening.
I think
Well,
council said
I
something
just
about
throw it
that.
out there, you don't need to respond, I just throw it out there because I felt they said that.
Correct.
Last night.
Yeah, no.
Fire ceased or not, wasn't it?
So,
It all depends, wouldn't it, on whether or not, this
yeah, so
coronavirus is still going on. If it is, they
it's
probably
possible
wouldn't.
we may have this discussion a year from now. So,
Correct. And that's
Quite
why I say,
possible.
Yeah.
instead of just paying it, we wait
That's a
and
year
see.
from now. Let's
All right,
discuss that.
continue.
Okay, so with this discussion, I think it's important that we make sure everyone's aware that, you know, we are the fiscal court. We have a fiscal responsibility. Per the Kentucky Constitution, counties are required. And we have a fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers with their money. So we're not gonna just blindly raise taxes. We're not gonna just, you know, I know that when we did raise taxes, it was a hard decision on everybody in this court to make. I felt it, I heard it. We're not just gonna do that just because we want to give ourselves raises or whatever. You know, we are all serving here because we want to give a service to our community. We're not looking to become rich politicians in this role. There's not an opportunity. So we take the money that these taxpayers give us we take it to heart, and because we all pay taxes and we know that, you know, these people are counting on us to make good, rational decisions. You know, we have to make sure our sheriffs are paid for properly, our EMS, you know, we have a fiscal responsibility to the jail, and so we just don't want to waste it on like consultants and raises or whatever. And I think that we've always done a really good job. So, you know, I think it's great that we generally try to have our house in order, and I would recommend others get their house in order and live a little more fiscally than they have. So, I think that's all I have to say.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Of course.
I forgot. Magistrate Ellis had asked me to prepare like a indemnification agreement for where Junction City is giving its playground equipment to, is it Parable?
No.
No, White
Spark.
White Spark. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I emailed you last night. I
Right.
don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I acknowledged it.
Okay. We'll have to maybe
Yeah, tweak it.
tweak it a little bit because I didn't know what you're
Yeah.
exactly giving.
Yeah, it's everything at White Spark.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, good deal.
All right, thank you. Nothing? Mr. Kaywood?
Well, I have just a few things, but the first thing I want to bring up, quite honestly, we lost a very loyal, a very fine county worker who loved this county and was here every day. And I didn't know Eddie outside these four walls, but what I knew of him inside these four walls, he was a great guy. He's a guy that you love to sit down and have a conversation with. And in the early mornings, if we were in here for a committee meeting, he'd come by and say hello and good morning and speak to you. And I'll miss him. And we will miss him. And so my point is, I would like for us to adjourn in his memory, sir.
Appreciate that. We can still do so.
Kurt Holman resigned from the Constitution Committee, and I've had a person ask me, and I passed the email on to you that this person sent me, but how are we going to go about replacing, and I'm sorry, I think he's a great guy too.
Who resigned, John, you're saying?
Kurt Holman.
Kurt Holman, he resigned.
From Perryville.
And for good reasons. They were personal reasons, good reasons, had nothing to do with anything else. But how are we going to go about replacing that position, sir?
I would be willing to accept nominations for replacements, and I'd like, if you can, to give me those nominations. I have one person personally that I think that I would like to see considered, but there's, how many vacancies are there now on the committee? Is there 2? So, I would, you know, I will receive between now and I would like to address the recommendations at the next court session on the 29th, if that's okay with everybody. So send me those. I'll put the names forward for 2 positions, and we can vote on it then.
Well, did you get the one I sent you?
I have not seen it yet.
Okay.
I've not seen it yet.
I'll double check. I sent it to you today, I got it, but I just want to be sure you got it okay.
Okay.
So, we'll double check and I'll follow up on that. You're gonna bring up the sheriff?
I am.
Okay. That's all I have, sir.
Oh, well, good, good. That's quick.
Point of order, Judge,
Yes, sir.
before you move on.
Your turn.
My doctor has taken me off caffeine, so I am remiss in mentioning that Magistrate Kaywood did just an absolutely extraordinary job speaking to about 30 women of the Daughters of American Revolution last Friday. I got emotional. I know Peg got emotional, as did most of the women and others in the room.
I got emotional too.
I know, and that was a very appropriate part of our feeling for your presentation. But it was simply extraordinary, and I want to give due credit to the DAR and specifically Judy Sewicky in the minutes. They have given us a 15-star flag for Constitution Square. Embarrassed as I am to be a history teacher, I did not realize that since we were the 15th state, Commonwealth, and since that was flying as the 15-star flag over Fort McHenry, and that a fella named Francis John Scott Key wrote our anthem based on that flying flag. It is a huge honor for us. I don't know whether it's appropriate to make a motion to accept that now, but they're going to do a presentation in October. Would you rather defer?
I would rather prefer to wait later.
But John, thank you.
I think, that was something that I saw as being very significant to Constitution Square, because the 15th state started there. It's the birthplace of Kentucky. It's the flag that flew over the War of 1812. And was our flag in 1792. So, actually 1794. 1794. But it has a relevance because Kentucky was the 15th state. 15 stars, 15 stripes. There are no longer 15 stripes. I have a document that I've shared with staff that is significant, that addresses the history of the Star-Spangled Banner and its relationship to Boyle County. So, when we're appropriating the flagpole, we're appropriating the flag has been donated by DAR, and we're gonna fly that at Constitution Square. And I would like a ceremony of some significance in recognition of that opportunity. But thanks, John, for all of that too. And but if it's my turn, then I will get started.
And I'd also be remiss, Martha gave what it is to be back home when a warrior goes to war.
And beautiful. And before he shared that the spouses are very much a part of the flight aspect of things. I did not know that, and that is a beautiful rounding out of everybody that is involved in the process of service to our country from a military perspective. And you can't say enough good things about the recognition that John and his counterparts and others that have served duly are being recognized for that, and I think it's great. And their spouses.
Well, let me add, the spouses are not on every flight, their involvement's not on every flight, but Lexmark sponsored this one, so I want to give them a plug. It was a wonderful day for the wives who are part of what one goes through for a family when they are going through what we went through 50 years ago.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
Well, she had to live with my mother. she probably had it rougher now.
Wow.
All right, my turn.
Thank you, one quick question about this calendar. Does this mean we're not going to be meeting in the courtroom while election's going on?
Yes. No, we will. The court will meet on the scheduled dates, the half days on Tuesday and Thursday.
Committees will not.
Tuesdays and Tuesdays. Okay? We will meet.
The committees.
The committees.
Okay, I wasn't sure how that was going to work, if they were going to take all their stuff and come and go or whatever. So.
No. We will meet when we need to meet, but the committees, the court committees will have to have a different location to meet in.
Yeah.
And But that's
Yeah.
about it.
And part of my trip out there was going to see Mount Rushmore. You walk across that bridge and there's every flag, and you spot it right there, Kentucky's 15th state. So
If you haven't been, folks, go.
it's amazing.
All right. What I would like to do as part of our process is, at the request of several magistrates, I would like to get the sheriff, and if he were here, I'd do it right now, but I'll do it today, is to request that the sheriff invite the representatives from WatchGuard, which is the body cam, dash cam people, to make a presentation with a formal quote of service, and it will be a sole source kind of quote, okay, for the capabilities that are best suited for us to consider moving forward. And between now and then, I haven't had a chance to talk with the sheriff, but we'll have him invite them for a presentation. We'll get the quote, and we'll simultaneously discuss potential funding options that we can go forward. Because in all honesty, if we can get to the point where we have dash cam and body cams for our SO office, sheriff's office, that will absolutely go a long way toward vindicating any suspicion of activities that people deem excessive, as opposed to, any other options that are out there. So, I think, as it's been stated by Magistrate Kaywood, this is an opportunity for us to seek additional protection for our SO office.
Yeah, no, I think it's
So look for that on the agenda.
Good.
On the 29th.
Good.
I think that's huge, and it's important for their protection, it's important for the protection of our citizens.
Absolutely.
It's
Help
important
me
for
do
the
my
county
job
attorney, it helps the county attorney.
I'll do my job better,
It
definitely.
helps the county attorney do his job better.
I appreciate the support, and Judge, I appreciate your work, and I think we need to follow this and try to protect everybody that's involved in all of this. So
I
that
agree.
The truth comes out, so
I
we all
agree.
know that's the fairest thing for everybody. So
Yeah.
thank you, sir, for doing this.
And may I request that when you set this meeting, that you invite the treasurer, because it's very important if you're gonna be talking about money.
Okay.
You realize there's no line item in the budget for this, and so just
Exactly.
so the treasurer is aware and can have a little input in the funding and how that mechanism works. I think it's important to always include the treasurer when there's any discussions about money.
Totally agree.
I agree 100%.
Okay.
And I think,
I hope
can
that
we
our-
talk, I'm sorry, I was just gonna suggest that if we could, can we look at some of the financing options through KCO as well as part of this process? And, 'cause I think there are some financing options, and I think we also need to explore because I've brought this up before in this discussion, is who actually ends up owning the equipment? Is this the sheriff's budget line item, backed up by the fiscal court in the county, or is this a fiscal court budget item? And I think I think there are some financing options out there that we could explore in this process as well.
There are, and without getting in, this is not the right time nor the place to get into those kind of weed details, but the treasurer and I have discussed a potential option of some CARES reimbursements being directed toward that function potentially, with the consent of the court.
And at the same time, I hope we will think about setting some policies in the usage of these cameras.
You have to have a policy.
We have to have a
Before
policy.
those even get put out there, you need to have a
We
policy.
need to have a policy, so you might be giving some thought about
I bet
what you
KCO
want
has
in
a
a
great-
policy.
Oh, God, yeah.
And Chris, you might
Take
look
city
and
of,
see what you
city of
see.
Danville may have policies on it.
And maybe we can steal some ideas and not have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
With policies.
Absolutely.
I just hope that, City of Danville and our sheriff's department has training on common sense. Common sense, because everything you see is to me, it's no common sense has been used, period, on some of these instances happens, Judge.
Well, there's always two sides to every coin.
Yeah, that's right.
So, moving on, you know, we're all aware.
I think you're right, because especially in a community this small, we all generally know each other. We're all friends, and so you kind of have to remember that. So unless you're coming from Detroit, so, then you can stay out.
We're all aware that we've had a member of a couple of our boards that this court has appointed to has a issue with some questions regarding social media, and in discussion with him, he has requested the opportunity to present himself to each of his committees to have a discussion about the events of the past, and I think we should afford him the time and opportunity to do that with those committees. We'll, if it's okay with the court, we'll just wait until he's had the opportunity to do that in the short order before we move forward with any other discussions regarding that issue.
Judge, I appreciate you working on that issue and following up on it. I do think it's important that those are not statements that in any way represent the feeling of this court, some of those things that were put forward by that individual, but I am comfortable with affording that person the time to.
Well, be clear on this. I think also we need to develop a social media policy for ourselves, which we don't have as a county organization. And I'm willing to, and I think it's prudent that we take this opportunity to initiate a policy that addresses social media activity by any of our employees or representatives, okay, going forward.
So I've been through extensive training on that. I would encourage you to have an attorney who's familiar with employment situations, because all that, the training I've been through in the last 2 years, which has been probably 3 different programming, is that there are certain things that we don't have any control over on social media.
Absolutely.
But there are one very narrow scope of information that's put out there that you can make that person accountable. But it's very difficult to prove, and so I just encourage you, you can't just make a blanket social media statement about what you can and can't do, because as I understand it, with an attorney doing 2 of the presentations, we don't have any authority in that area. Now, do we need a social media, and would an employment attorney be able to help create that within the confines of the law? Certainly, but be very careful about creating a social media.
Yeah, I don't think it's something I'm comfortable with doing on our own, personally.
Oh, I've done what Mary says. I've spoken previously to Rich Ornstein about that very topic, and it is hard, it's freedom of speech. Now, if somebody's doing it while they're at work, social media, and that's one thing, but they can take when they're on their break, you can't necessarily police that, so that's something that I think that Rich Ornstein or somebody else.
That's something I think we need to entertain to get more information regarding.
And we do have an employment attorney on contract.
We do?
We have had one who has redone our personnel policy for many years.
Okay.
So, and that's what they do for a living.
I appreciate you taking that up, Judge. We're off to a good start. We've got it on the table. Now, the one thing I would like to add for consideration, if everybody around the table would agree, is to put a date that we would like to have Mr. Montgomery to have accomplished what he's been willing to do. So we don't leave it open-ended. Is to have we'd like for his part of what he's going to do, to have it completed by a certain date, so that people out there know that we're reacting in a responsible way.
Well, I don't know the scheduled the scheduled times that those committees are scheduled to meet on a monthly basis. I know for a fact that the Birthplace of Kentucky Committee met yesterday, and they meet monthly, on the, what is it, the second Tuesday of the month, or second Monday of the month. What I would think reasonable is 30 days from today that would allow him the opportunity to, on a regularly scheduled meeting of each committee, to have that opportunity.
I think that's fair. But I do think we need to put a time limit on it so people know that we do have a time limit on it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we'll just, that's just a matter of statement.
I guess I just would add that while I definitely strongly agree in our right to freedom of speech, I do think when you're in an elected or appointed position representing all the citizens of a county or community, that you need to recognize that how you're using your speech has, that freedom has tremendous impact, and it becomes representative. If you're appointed by this court on different boards and things, you are representing this court in the way that you use that freedom of speech, and I think there is a higher standard that has to be seen and is in play, and for us and for any of our appointments to our boards.
I don't disagree with the statement, yet if anybody would like to discuss the issue with me further, they feel free at any time. I am very much a constitutionalist, and we need to be extremely cognizant of all the freedoms that our Bill of Rights and Constitution afford us. Now, yes, in fact, as a representative of an organization, but something that is done, not representing the organization, nor did he at any time represent himself as that. It gets really a sticky wicket on saying what he can and can't say on his personal social media page. I'll leave it at that for right now until
Thanks, sir.
More input. Okay. Courtroom use be from October 13th or thereabouts. Maybe nearly the whole month of October, except for our fiscal courtroom will be in here during our scheduled meetings in October. It runs through November 3rd that the clerk's office will be in here with their ballot team. First sending out, validating signatures, and then during the vote, same thing. Just a note, if anybody is interested, the DAR will be here at 2 p.m. on Thursday of this week. Join myself and Duane Campbell and anybody else that would like to show up upstairs out in the front foyer to ring the bell at 2 p.m. for Constitution Day, which they did last year and they will do again this year. We did not do a proclamation that we did last year because this year's was done support of that date by the city of Danville, and so we will participate in a bell ringing at 2 p.m. on September the 17th, and here at the courthouse. And everybody's invited to participate if they want to.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, sir.
If you don't know a whole lot, and I didn't know a whole lot about the DAR until they were kind enough to invite me to come, read up on them. It's a wonderful, interesting organization. So
it truly is.
I would ask all of y'all to take a study of that and their history. It's really outstanding. So, thank you, Jeff.
All right. I have nothing further. Does anybody else have anything to close? We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
In the name of.
Eddie
Yeah.
Adjourn in Eddie's, Tammy's, honor.
In honor of Eddie Tammy and his service to the county in his passing. Motion made, seconded by Salmon, seconded by
Kaywood.
Magistrate Kaywood. This court stands in adjournment in honor of Eddie Tammy, a former PVA of this county, and his service to Boyle County for a long time. May his memory be peaceful. Thank you.